You're hungry. You're out in the middle of nowhere. There's no grocery store, no vending machine, no app that delivers noodles in 30 minutes. You're staring at a bird's nest, and inside that nest is a smooth, oval, slightly suspicious looking object. You have no idea what's inside it. You don't know if it'll taste good, make you sick, or explode. And yet something in your brain says, eat it. So you do, and it's delicious. Congratulations, you have just participated in one of the oldest food discoveries in human history. But here's what's interesting. That wasn't an accident. That was a calculated move. And the full story of how ancient humans figured out eggs were edible is way weirder, way older, and way more impressive than you're probably expecting. Let's start with an uncomfortable truth. Humans have been eating eggs for longer than we have been fully human. Our earliest ancestors, hominids who were not quite us, shuffling around Africa before Homo sapiens even showed up, were already raiding nests. And the reason is so obvious in hindsight that it's almost funny. Eggs don't fight back. You can't outrun a mammoth, but you can absolutely climb a tree and steal breakfast. The calorie-to-effort ratio is fantastic. One ostrich egg contains the equivalent of about 24 chicken eggs. That is a full meal. That is several full meals. That is a prehistoric buffet just sitting there on the ground being guarded by a large angry bird who, yes, can kick you hard enough to break a bone. But you know what? Ancient humans decided that was worth it, and they were right. Here's the part that nobody talks about. The question of how ancient humans figured out eggs were edible implies that this was some kind of leap of logic, some daring moment of ancient genius, where someone looked at a mysterious oval object and thought, I bet I should put that in my mouth. But that's not how it happened. The discovery was not a discovery at all. It was observation. Ancient humans watched other animals eat eggs. They watched ravens crack them open. They watched monitor lizards dig up buried reptile eggs. They watched other primates sneak eggs out of nests. And then they thought, if that thing is eating it, maybe I should try. You do this exact same thing at a restaurant. You look at what the person at the next table ordered, and you think, actually, I want that. We've been copying each other's food choices for millions of years. Now here is where it gets genuinely strange. We will get to the moment that changed everything about how humans related to eggs. But first, we need to talk about a rock shelter in South Africa called Deep Kloof. 60,000 years ago, people were living there, and they were eating ostrich eggs. We know this because archaeologists found their trash, specifically thousands of ostrich eggshell fragments scattered around ancient hearths. But that's not the weird part. The weird part is what they did with the shells after they were done eating. They carved them. They engraved geometric patterns onto them. Parallel lines, hatched bands, repeating shapes. A study published in the Proceedings of the National Academy of Sciences found 270 fragments of intentionally marked eggshell from this single site. These weren't random scratches. They were a system, a language of symbols that researchers believe was used for identification. Whose shell is this? What group does this person belong to? 60,000 years ago, somebody finished their breakfast and then decorated the container. You do this too. You do this on every piece of merchandise you own that has a logo on it. So they ate eggs, they cooked them over fire, which evidence suggests humans were doing with eggs as far back as 1,000,000 years ago, and they turned the shells into art and storage containers. An ostrich eggshell can hold about a liter of water. Ancient hunter-gatherers carried them across the savannah as portable canteens. These people were not just eating, they were engineering a food system. But for most of human prehistory, the eggs being eaten were wild. You found a nest, you took the eggs, you moved on. The bird's loss was your breakfast. And this was fine. Intermittent, seasonal, dependent on finding a nest and not getting kicked by whatever was defending it. Then something happened that changed the whole relationship. Agriculture, specifically the domestication of birds. Around 9,000 years ago in Southeast Asia, people started keeping red jungle fowl, the wild ancestor of the modern chicken. The earliest chicken bones identified at a Neolithic site called Ban Non Wat in central Thailand line up with the arrival of rice farming. Rice drew the birds down from the trees and into human spaces. Humans noticed that these birds laid eggs repeatedly if you kept removing the eggs from the nest, and so began the greatest food management trick in history. Convince a bird she hasn't finished laying yet by stealing her eggs continuously. The chicken does not know. The chicken never figures it out. You are currently benefiting from a deception that has been running continuously for 9,000 years. And this is the moment where the whole story snaps into focus. Ancient humans didn't discover that eggs were edible because of a brave moment of experimentation. They discovered it because they were paying attention. They watched animals. They copied. They tested. They failed sometimes. There are definitely eggs that tasted terrible or made people sick, and those lessons traveled fast through the group. The ones that worked got shared. And over hundreds of thousands of years, what began as, I will steal that from a nest because I'm hungry, became one of the most sophisticated food relationships in human history. An egg is now used in baking to bind ingredients, in sauces to emulsify, in cakes to create structure, in cocktails to add foam. The Romans invented what might be the first omelet recipe. Ancient Egyptians figured out that egg whites were amazing for clarifying wine. All of that knowledge traces back to someone, a very long time ago, watching an animal eat something, deciding to try it, and telling their friends. Here's the final thing. You still do all of this. You look at what your friends are ordering. You try the weird food at the restaurant because someone said it was good. You make slightly embarrassing decisions in the snack aisle based on what someone told you was good. The knowledge transfer that started with a hominid watching a raven crack open a shell is still running. It just moved to restaurant recommendations and food influencers. We didn't figure out that eggs were edible because we were brave adventurers. We figured it out because we are very good at copying each other. And honestly, that instinct, watch, copy, tell others, is probably responsible for most of what we know. So the next time you crack an egg into a pan without thinking twice about it, take a second. You are at the end of a very long chain of humans passing that information forward. From a nest raided by a hominid in Africa to your kitchen counter. A million-year journey to breakfast. This video discusses anthropological and archaeological research for educational purposes. Modern hunter-gatherer observations are used as comparative models to understand ancient human behavior, not as definitive proof of how all ancient humans lived across different time periods and geographies.